What's going on? Boys, thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free to stay in the loop, arm yourselves, life stuff. We used the term self-documenting a couple videos ago, and I like that term. That's what we're always doing, self-documenting, but we are especially self-documenting here. Two larger topics today. Pretty much everything we were planning for 2025, barring the typology stuff, maybe, is suspended. And there are two angles to the civil involvement stuff: the practical side and the ideology or spiritual side. And either way, I was planning on attending this month's city council meeting, and I pussied out, which we'll probably dive into in the second half of the video. Anyway, that's a relief on some level, so silver linings. And we mentioned self-documenting because I know the sky is falling, but I can't determine or haven't determined yet how much of the sky is falling. Either I am going into 2025 car lifing, or better, early mid 2025, my entire living situation will be changed and I won't have as much time to work on stuff. Or neither of those things are happening. Probably neither of those things are happening, but in the spirit of self documentation, I'd like to review some things from this place in time. My emotional state at first was interesting. Typically, whenever anything major bad happens, it's normal for me to at least feel utterly panicked. I like my security, I like my routines. Little irregularities are enough to upset or agitate me, so big stuff feels like getting hit by a wave. One moment you're standing, the next moment you are floundering. In this case, it felt like coming home and realizing someone has broken into your house and they're still there. You know, that terrible feeling of dread on all levels. From the primal mortal level to the stressful inconveniences level. On one hand, you don't want to get shot to death. On the other hand, you're thinking about what the police paperwork will look like if you get through, and maybe getting shot to death there too. And it's weird, in moments like these, like the break-in example, you shouldn't be thinking about the minor logistical inconveniences level. You should be primarily totally focused on the mortal terror level. But unfortunately, your brain doesn't afford you that decency, so you're hit with all levels of everything all at once. Except this time, for me, it was like realizing someone has broken into your house and they're still there, except you remembered to carry today. That by itself does not instantly and totally eliminate all those problems, and in fact, it makes some of them worse, but on that mortal terror level, you feel like you have a chance. That's how I felt about my homelessness protocol. I've had enough of those scares in the past to be ready for them, as ready as you can be on that emotional and training level, as in when this happens, do this, when that happens, do that. And that feels like remembering you carried a pocket knife, which not even close to what you need, but better than nothing, because I still don't deal with huge uprooting changes well. But this time, I've been in a situation I could prepare a little more. And I'm dumb because I didn't get everything perfectly squared away while I had the time. I could have, I didn't, and I'll pay for it. And those are two things I like to remind people. One, if you hate me, don't worry, I will get fucked at some point, and when I get fucked big. And two, if you think there's even the slimmest possibility you might need to prepare for something, do it now and do it completely. If you don't, you will pay for it later. When you're looking at the how people get fucked statistics, you should not look at the larger, maybe even much larger, these people are okay statistics and comfort yourself with them. You should look at this situation or this potentiality from the smallest percentage of people who get proper fucked. You're going to be one of them. And I knew that, and while I prepared a bit, which is better than nothing, I did not prepare everything, and I am a dummy for not doing it. But on the preparation front, let's look at some of the positives. One of my goals was to organize things in such a way if I needed to do my current job as I do it on the road, I would be able to. And I accomplished that. I have a filing system I can move. I have one of those thermal printers, which are very small, and in terms of printing quality, they stink. The letters are all weird because you're basically printing a giant receipt, and they even roll up like scrolls, and the prints fade even when stored well between 2 and 7 years, so you can't use this for as a long-term printing filing solution. But it is something. It is small and it is affordable. I have a business wardrobe bag already loaded up with business clothes that I could use in a pinch that, depending on time, I can swap out for the nicer stuff, already ready to go. I have an electronics bag, so everything electronic I could possibly need that I don't use daily, it's all organized, it's all in one spot, and it's all in a bag so I can move it quickly. I bought one of those unfolding solar panel systems that comes with the battery bank that you can plug stuff like lamps into. What are they? Outlets. Charges surprisingly slowly. So slowly, in fact, I didn't realize. For a while I thought it didn't work until I gave it like 24 hours and then it did charge a bit. So, not ideal, but again, better than nothing. I don't have a laptop, but I do have that tablet, cheapo tablet, but it does just about everything I would need it to do. I think I would be able, well, no, for my job, yes, absolutely, I would be able to do everything I need to do. For my Fiverr tarot business, I'm pretty sure I could do everything I need to do. For editing videos, again, probably, but not in the way I thought I could. So I could probably figure something out there, but it wouldn't be ideal. I do have a few reserve tarot decks. And one of the reasons I initially, when I started the Fiverr thing, wanted to earn some money doing tarot was so if I ever ended up in a very hard up position, I would have a way to earn some kind of money without straight up begging. I have not read up on vagrancy laws or boondocking laws, whatever they are. Primarily, even though I know I should, primarily because I am still super, super uneasy about law enforcement, and even looking at anything like that stresses me out because there is no winning there. If you've gotten to the point you would need to know the laws, in my eyes, you have already fucked up. Now, I know people can get into these situations and understand how to get out. I still have it in my head that there is no way out. Now, I know that is not the case, but when you've seen or experienced how the justice system works, it's really hard to see any way out. So again, I let cowardice put me, or not put me in a bad spot, but leave myself in a vulnerable spot. Moving on, I have a relatively solid sleeping bag. I bought a road atlas. I have a pretty good relationship with my friendly neighborhood, hating the government arms dealer. So in a pinch, I can sell off most of my arms and ammunition for, getting fucked on the trade-in price, but I know that's available. From the beginning, aside from tapping into it once, I did pay my taxes. Bad move. But I've been socking away all of any money I earn that is not strictly from my career paychecks goes into an emergency fund, figuring something like this would happen at some point. And again, while that's not a ton, it is better than nothing. I still have that stupid button maker and crate of used books, so I have some inventory and can produce more. Again, that button maker, combined with the thermal printer, I knew that would come in handy at some point. The ability to manufacture tacky shit is always useful. I'll still have a way to pay my student loans, which I'll need to pay. I forget where I learned it, but student loan debt is the only debt that you're stuck with even if you declare bankruptcy. And that makes me think this whole go to college thing, while I don't regret my time at university, I still have a relevant piece of paper, and I did learn a lot. And I don't think I would have been able to learn those things outside university. People act like you can just learn anything you want for free, and you can, but the way you learn things is important, and that classroom setting with the assignments and the papers and the processes and the history, it did make a difference. I don't regret that. And I owe less than most people in my position would, but what I was getting at initially was, I think the whole go to college thing is a big part of how the government funds itself. Depending on how people's lives turn out, that's a bunch of indefinite paychecks. And one of the aspects of all this that initially upset me most, and then I felt better about even though I'm still uneasy, is the career thing. It's stressful looking at job listings and realizing all the stuff that pays okay, not even great, you are unqualified for, and then the stuff you are qualified for is not going to support you even if you're working lots and lots and lots of miserable hours. So I'm staring at this no win no matter what you do situation, and I remember I do actually now have nonprofit experience. That's the entire reason I have stuck with this job, the one I'm working now, for so long, even though everybody said I was stupid. On paper, I meet the requirements for a higher level nonprofit position. Not that I want to or would be able to step straight into one of those. On the human level, nonprofits are my career. I know enough and I'm able enough, both in terms of skills and or career skills and in interpersonal skills, but again, they're kind of the same thing in this sector. I feel confident I can walk into just about any nonprofit with more than 150K in the bank and land a secure, quote, secure, relatively secure position. Something that pays well enough to keep me alive without being in literally everybody's crosshairs, the way directors are. And the beautiful thing about nonprofits, even in large cities, is they are like nodes within a web. Everybody in the nonprofit sphere knows everybody else. Meaning, with some good fortune, which isn't fortunate, you make good fortune. If you wait for fortune to come to you, it's only going to be bad fortune. With enough good fortune, I can get to know people who can do for me what I have done for other people. Which is to say, put them in touch with people who can help improve their situations. I've seen it, I've done it, I know that's a possibility. And actually, on this note, I was poking around and I realized the career situation I'm in right now is actually not that uncommon. When I first got into all this, I thought it was a farce, but as it turns out, there are tons of nonprofits hiring executive directors as their nonprofit's sole paid employee. Now, that's almost never a lot of money because most nonprofits, I think, operate with, as I said, less than 150,000 in the bank. But if you're looking to break into the nonprofit sphere and build up a really good sounding resume, and actually you will learn a lot of valuable career experience, but I think that's the best entry into the nonprofit sphere instead of, I don't know, working as a basic foot soldier at a very large organization that's never going to promote you. Start at the very top, at the smallest, and then you can talk your way into whatever you want within reason elsewhere. You can become an executive director too, and join the wonderful world of nonprofits. People don't understand them. Chaos is a ladder. You too can join the Council of Executives. And if this sounds like a joke, I am not joking. If you can figure out how to make this work for you financially, or fit these low-level executive director jobs into your budget, you can, no bullshit, become an executive director and put that on your resume. It's wild shit. So while the pool for nonprofit jobs is much smaller, I think it's like there's one nonprofit job for every 10 for-profit jobs. For the first time in my life, I'm in a position I feel totally confident I can just go out and get a job when I need one. And that's probably not the case, but I feel that way, and right now, any positive feeling is important. Those are the things, that confidence, that arrogance even, is what will carry you through the shitstorm. So while I don't have an entire man o' war ready to jump over onto, I do have a dinghy with a cannon on it and the spirit of John Paul Jones running through my veins. And realizing all this, I came to another realization in this emotional mental state space thing. We talk about the importance of shadow development constantly, and the way when you have a good connection with your shadow, it will cover a lot of shit for you. In this case, this feels like a situation the shadow should be doing most of the work, but it hit me, I'm doing all this. Now, I'm sure that will change if or when the rockets start flying, but for right now, in this bracing stage, my hands are on the wheel. And that's exciting and terrifying. Because my hands are on the wheel, and that's exciting, but I don't know how to drive, I have no idea what I'm doing, and that's terrifying. Now, to conclude this part of the video, I'm not actually sure what's going to happen. Probably nothing, but probably nothing is the thinking that leaves you with your pants down. For some reason, I feel like everything will be okay no matter how this turns out. Which is odd, because I never feel like everything is going to be okay about anything. That makes me suspicious of the feeling. But right now, I don't feel totally helpless. And maybe that's why I don't feel totally bad, or even on some level feel like everything is going to be okay, no matter how gruesomely this all turns out. Because for me, even having a chance of making everything okay is better than I usually do when catastrophes happen. And again, no matter what happens, for right now, I am so thankful I have reached what I think is a level I can feel like I might have a chance in the worst case. And now we get into part 2 of the video. Some stuff that's been on my mind, particularly regarding the civil service, civil involvement thing. We said a couple videos ago, it feels like everything you think is stupid and none of it means anything, but something in there somewhere is important in some way you haven't worked out. We've made a number of political videos in the last year working to formulate a political stance for SOA, its members, and its goals in our bid for world domination. None of it matters. At least for itself. For something that doesn't matter, we have put a lot of time and effort into it, and we've been very particular. So, what's actually happening here? Because if it didn't matter, then we would say whatever, we would say complete nonsense, or we would pick a side and try to profit. And Jesus Christ, a couple days ago, I learned there are overtly political VTubers, and their existence is knowledge that I don't want, and I don't think my brain or my soul can handle, but now that I've learned it, there is not any way out, and it's looking grim. Anywho, I think I was using these odd political stances as a means to an end. I don't care about these positions for these positions. I care about them as tools trying to accomplish the thing I actually care about, which is unity, the power to protect that unity, and a place to be unified. Politicians can and will change policy on a whim. Fuck the, democratic process. Fuck that. Policy in a system like this shouldn't be your goal. Politicians can change laws with words. Do you know what they can't do with words? Lock people out of land or remove people from land. Now, they can decree this land belongs to them or one of their buddies, and they can decree an enforcement of that claim, but that enforcement does take words. Words can't teleport people, and they can't password protect land. They can't delete land. So if you get people invested in their soil, make them conceptualize the dirt they're standing on as theirs, the word enforcement might not be enough to remove somebody from land your owners are trying to steal from you. Hatred and resentment unify people like nothing else. And if you put people in situations they acutely feel things are being taken from them, land they've earned, land they deserve, land they own, you'll breed hatred and resentment quickly, and it will be focused on one thing. And that might be enough to unify people. Because unity and collective and self determination are what I really care about. I want to be part of a tribe that gives a damn. A tribe that fights its enemies and protects its own. So I think, and one of the things, I don't know if I ever said it in a video, it seems like when you boil it down, policy is the least important part of politics. Local, immediate, felt problems and then people's feelings about them come first. So I think I've been trying to work out, or was trying to work out, will go back to trying to work out at some point, the best enemies to unify people against, and the most important values or luxuries to unify people for. And not just in an abstract way, like I'm a Marxist and he's an ANCAP, but in material ways. Things people will understand and get riled up about with zero abstractions. Pure Neanderthal shit. And on a different but still related to this part of the video note, I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima, and one of the things you do in that game is write haikus, or rather compile haikus. And I just looked, the plural form of haiku in English is actually haikus, which is a relief, because although that sounded wrong, that also sounded natural. And I'm glad I don't have to change that. I'll link a book I've been reading in the description. It's the PDF, it's free. The primary focus is about those death poems olden times Japanese people would write, like samurai and monks and all that. But they spend a fair amount of time discussing what haikus are, and I think the other one is tankas, tankas. And I learned, or am learning, haikus are more than just the 575 syllable thing. There are actually a bunch of additional, quieter rules that I think make them more interesting as a tool for self-expression. As in, you are not supposed to say what you want to say in a haiku. They need to be seasonal, they need to be focused on nature. And the goal is to communicate something without saying it outright. And those additional rules are interesting because, one, I'm finding Hemingway said the hardest part of writing is getting the words right. And I originally found haikus to be a good practice for how to get the words right, because one of Hemingway's whole things was trying to write prose, or trying to write poetry masquerading as prose. That's what makes Hemingway so legendary, especially considering how punchy his writing is. There's what you want to say, there are the confines within which one can say something, and then there are the few words you can fit or use to say it. And I made a note of that. It's great language practice, and when you add those additional rules to it, it gets even better. Because you not only do you need to think about how to fit all this in and say what you want to say in the most effective and prettiest way, but also what moment in nature and in season makes or would make someone think what you are trying to say. It's an addition, for me, it's an additional layer to that connection with the land thing. Moments in nature say everything a human could ever want to say, and then some. It's like learning another language the land speaks. Finding that moment that communicates what you'd like to communicate and then translating it into human speech and saying what you want to say or expressing how you feel, not by saying what you want to say or expressing how you feel, but instead by translating nature in a way that will evoke that feeling. It's a nature communion thing. It's haiku. It's amazing. So with this, we aren't planning anything yet. We might never plan anything. But I wanted to stick this idea in your noggin and put this resource, the book, the PDF, in your hands. Because this is another thing, I think there's something here. And on the typology level, I'm always on the hunt for channels ENTJs can use to process that nasty inferior FI that terrorizes them so. And maybe this is one of those channels. Useful to them, maybe, but on some level, certainly useful to people concerned with the things we are concerned with. So we'll cut it all here. I feel pretty sure I am just catastrophizing about everything. However, in the event I'm not, I still think everything is going to be okay, but shit will be affected for a while. If that comes to pass, but still, I feel like everything is going to be okay, even if it's not. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.